All right, Al, let's have some fun. You ready?
Episode 5.
That's it. Episode 5. Happened fast, didn't it?
Yes.
So, audience, welcome to episode 5 of the Building and Becoming Show. Our mission remains the same. It's important.
Yes.
You know what it is, Al?
I do.
Go.
Building a foundational faith in Christ while becoming strong, fit, and capable in all areas.
In all areas. That's
the
right.
key.
That is the key. So, guys, before we get rolling, we want to tell you how to join us, how to follow along. So I'm at Real Jim Moats on Instagram. That's by far where the most activity is, yeah?
I concur.
Yeah, I mean, there's reels, shorts, normal posts, everything you could want on there. Calls to action, opportunities to join personalized, tailored coaching, links to get into building and becoming for free.
Yep.
Everything you could need. I'm also Jim Moats on Facebook, kind of a mirror of the Instagram.
Yeah, everything just gets funneled there.
Yep. The YouTube channel, Building and Becoming Show on YouTube.
Right.
53,000 followers or so at the time of recording.
Growing.
Yep. So thank you, audience. We appreciate that. It's humbling. It's a big responsibility. We want to put out good content there. So speaking of YouTube content, long form videos, there's real trainings in there that are going to help people.
Yep. The shorts, the modules. So you guys are getting a little bit of a sneak to what we've got in the Building Becoming because we're posting some of those modules.
Yeah. Yeah, there's good stuff in there. The occasional cat video, just because we love cats and we like to laugh.
We do. This morning, one of our kitty cats was on her back 2 legs with her feet against the windowsill, watching birds because there's a little birdie that's building a nest on our porch.
Yeah, we have a new addition to the family, and I don't know what they are, what those birds are, just probably annoying swallows. But we love them, and we're happy they're here and building nests.
Yeah, this is the second time.
Yep.
They do it every year. And the wreath on the porch.
Makes a little bit of a mess to clean up with the hose, but you know what? It's okay. Family's messy.
No, there was no mess
Family's
last year.
messy. Yep, that's right. There's a whole bunch of birds sitting in one location for weeks. No messes.
I didn't see any.
That's how good I was about keeping it cleaned up.
He's also dramatic.
Slightly, a little bit. Speaking of cats, here comes Ozzy. So we accidentally left the studio door open and cats have come in.
Let's not use the word we.
So let's proceed and hope she doesn't disturb the show.
Ownership says
I left the door open to the studio. So yeah, so that's how you can reach us. So engage with us, leave comments, share and like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
This stuff is super important. If you're getting value from what we're doing, awesome. Share it.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that very much.
For sure.
Today's going to be an interesting show. We're going to talk to you about kind of what we're building.
Yep.
In our lives. And then, well, I don't want to give it away yet. So I want the audience to stay tuned. It's going to be pretty cool, but I'm not going to give you the meat and potatoes yet. So we have the Building and Becoming School community.
Yep.
Up and running. It's been, let's call it 4 months.
Yeah, since November.
Yeah. It's been an amazing experience. What sets us apart? So I was thinking about this, man, with all the noise on the internet and the opportunities to consume information and become parts of communities and groups. I mean, it's so much. So I'm like, how are we different? What makes us different?
Yeah, why our program instead of somebody else's?
Exactly, because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So ours is first and foremost a Christ-centered community. And it's also full of people who want to be freaking killers.
Yep.
Who want to get fit, grow businesses, develop that growth mindset that we talk about, operate in personal excellence, develop habits that lead to a more disciplined life, basically just get better, I guess.
Yeah. Find people that are also chasing the same goals that you are.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big thing, that there's community.
Yeah. So that's interesting because it's a community, but there actually is community.
Mm-hmm.
And they have different meetings.
Right.
So we did our targeted training last Thursday night, and I come with a teaching and I prepare it for the week prior and I deliver that in about 30 minutes. We catch up a little bit on the Zoom and then we deliver the training. And then last week we talked about prayer, and we had people offer, hey, I could use prayer for this and that. So I thought, what a blessing to be able to pour into other people and pray with and for the group.
Yeah.
That's what makes us unique. If you're hearing this and you're like, that seems like something I've been missing. You're right. You have been missing it. And I would encourage you to check it out. We'll do more on that here in a minute. I would say, though, that the word that came to my heart was transformation. Lives are being transformed.
Yeah, right in front of our eyes.
Man, it's freaking crazy. But all that being said, and it's pretty cool what we got going on, right?
Yeah.
We have had people approach us who, although benefited from what we're doing. So again, classroom modules, the Zooms, meal and workout plans, the community engagement, the high level of accountability. These people have said they would love the opportunity to go to another level.
Further.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, could we go deeper?
Yeah.
Could we go deeper? Yeah, we can. So we developed an exclusive, more intense, more personal, more focused and immersive program. What do we call it, Al?
DeepWater.
DeepWater. This is for those who will utilize the technology that we have. And we have developed and partnered with some really good operators who've built some tech out.
Yep.
So this tech allows people to log everything they're doing in the gym. So I personally designed their workouts. They log their sets, their reps, their weight, how they felt.
And it happens in real time.
Yep.
So you can see them log or post their comments while they're at the gym, and you immediately get notified.
So if client B says, hey, I'm going to be at the gym at 8:00 and I've got some questions on a couple movements, so I can be on my app with them. They're at the gym and they're doing their set, and then they can reach out and, hey, they can send a quick message in there. I'm struggling with this one that's hurting my shoulder. What might be a pivot, or can I adjust my form, or
change weights? What would you suggest? Yeah.
It's very cool. So the DeepWater community, for lack of a better way to put it, will allow people to go to that level where they're willing to log all their meals, which is important. You and I are living that lifestyle, and it is a game changer.
Yeah.
I was doing pretty well. That put me over the top. And I thank you for, I guess, encouraging me to do that, for lack of a meaner way to put it. So if people will log their meals, log their workouts, take measurements of their body, that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it's going to get you the most accurate representation of where you're really at, because that scale isn't always super truthful. Yeah,
so we want to do measurements, and then periodically we're going to redo the measurements to see what the progress has been.
Yeah, and it gives them the opportunity to take pictures of their body, and then you reevaluate it in like a month, or, oh, there's a cat. Reevaluate in like a month or whatever. So again, because the scale, not super accurate. Maybe you had a heavy dinner the night before, or whatever. And then you get on the scale, it's going to say that you weigh a little bit, or with putting on muscle, all that stuff is kind of inaccurate. So the pictures and the measurements are what I think really help people understand, like, wow, my body's really changed.
And we're not here to help people get skinny. We're here to help people get to a healthy weight, build muscle.
Yeah, and keep it off and keep the muscle on.
Right. So DeepWater, folks, if you're thinking about this, if this is perking you up, you're like, this might be something I'd be interested in. We would ask you, before we would accept you into the program, that you'd have to commit to an uncommon level of growing in both faith and fitness.
Yeah.
Because it's both. And part of DeepWater, since it's all encompassing, is we have Bible study instruction, basic discipleship training. In other words, how to draw closer to Christ. How to journal and do that more effectively. How to organize and structure a devotional time along with the workout portion. So it's fast paced, it's life changing. And when we talk about what sets us apart, I have never seen or been a part of or heard of anything like this DeepWater program.
Neither have I.
I'm telling you, if you'll check it out, you're going to be blown away.
Yeah, give it 90 days.
Yeah, it's a 90-day program.
Yep.
I forgot to mention that. So this isn't like you got to do it for the rest of your life, although you'll want to do most of it the rest of your life. 90 days is going to transform you in every way.
To a different person.
So I mentioned my Instagram at RealJimMoats. Check that out for more details. You can also message me. I'd love to set up a Zoom call with you. That's the best way to effectively communicate a couple things. First off, you telling me what struggles you're having in growing in your faith and fitness. And then I'll ask, does the program that I've laid out seem like it could help you? And if so, then let's talk about what the investment looks like and how to get you rolling.
Yep.
So there's that. So if you want to know us, and how we do things, what our group's about, the mission, or whatever, here's the first step. Join Building and Becoming. So that's the starting point. Building and Becoming is where we want to funnel people into. It's a little bit like the wading pool of everything else where you're going to get a lot of good information. It's like popping into church every Sunday.
Right.
You're going to get a lot of the necessary information and inspiration and accountability and all of those things. But there is a deeper, and the small groups are kind of the deeper water at church. And DeepWater is the deeper water in our program.
Right.
But I want everybody to start in Building and Becoming because it's awesome. The free trial is ready for everybody.
Yeah, 7 days.
Yeah. So it's no risk. It's high reward. Everyone, you should be doing everything in your life that fits those two criteria. There is no downside to taking advantage of a 7-day free trial into a life-giving community.
Right.
Where you can bail at any time in that 7 days.
Yeah, no hard feelings.
With no charge, no hard feelings. If you stay longer, it's $99 a month. That's the best bargain and value you're going to have in your life. But if you don't agree, bail.
Yep.
No contracts, no more further obligation, no nothing. We decided to set it up with no contracts because we're going to earn it every freaking day. I promise you, we wake up every day. Our mission is to live healthy, to develop strategies that can help us be better so we can impart that to the audience and the people that are in our groups.
Right.
That's what we do. That's our lives and those are our careers.
I think so.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So that's what we got there. You ready to get into the meat of the show?
Yes.
Whew. I am too. Q&A, baby.
Yeah. So we've got a list of questions that were submitted that I'm going to ask Jim.
Yeah. So in this building phase, see building and becoming in the building phase. See what I did there? Yeah. So we talk to and engage to literally hundreds of people a week online. And that's not an exaggeration.
No.
It is. I was going to say thousands. That's probably a stretch right now because I don't have the time for that. But literally hundreds of people a week. And they've asked us a lot of questions.
Right.
And we wanted to dedicate this episode to answering some of our favorites. Now, I want to give full disclosure before we get rolling. Okay. I do know what most of the questions are because I wanted to give them some real thought. But here, right before we started recording today, Allie dumps on me. She says, "Hey, I have other questions." I said, "Oh, cool. Let's take a peek." She says, "Nope." So
he'll have 14 additional questions.
Dude, we got like an hour show here. We won't even get to those.
It's going to keep Jim from going long-winded.
Oh, my word.
Okay. Question number 1. Are you ready?
I am ready. Can I get a drink first? Okay, go. I'm listening.
You guys are in decent shape. What are some obstacles you faced on your fitness journey?
First off, thank you, because when I hear decent shape, I take that as a huge compliment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Right.
It took hard work to get here.
I mean, it seems backhanded a little bit, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take decent shape. So what are some obstacles that I faced? So I did give this question some thought, and there were so many, but I wanted to narrow them down. You know, one of them that might surprise people, it was people that I thought were my friends. I got a lot of discouragement from my quote unquote friends and even some family.
Yep.
That surprised me.
Yeah, because you think they're supposed to be your biggest cheerleaders. Nope. And sometimes the discouragement or whatever doesn't come from you can't like, oh, Jim, you should stop. You shouldn't do that. But it's from the people that are like, I could never do that. Ew, gross. I don't want to do that. Those kinds of things. Because then it makes it seem like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. They almost shame you for living healthy.
Yeah.
You're just like, what are you doing with your life?
You're not going to come over for margaritas? No.
Yeah. That was a big one, the friends and that kind of discouragement.
Yeah.
Also, lies that I told myself. I probably don't have the time. And the other lies that were obstacles. So these obstacles really kept me from getting going. And then when I did get going, I was only willing to put my toe in the water instead of committing.
Yeah.
Because, well, I don't think my genetics were good enough to really build muscle. And that's just kind of the way that is.
It's fear.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, right?
Fear, yeah.
And if you throw yourself out there and say, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and develop this lifestyle and these habits, and all of a sudden, if it's not getting the results that the world expects, now you're a failure. Told you it wouldn't work.
Nope.
That's not for you.
Right.
So that was another one. Work getting in the way. That was a huge one until I really just said, you know what? I guess I just have to get up earlier.
Yep.
I worked 12 hours a day while training for a marathon. I would run some mornings 2 hours. So I'm running from 5:30 to 7:30 in the morning. Quick sprint, I'll drive home. And then quick breakfast, shower, boom, at work for 12 hours.
Because what's important to you, you prioritize.
It's true. You'll get it done. You'll find a way. You'll figure it out. Lack of accountability got me a little bit off track when I was first starting because no one would really say to me, hey, dude, you committed to blank. How come you didn't go to the gym this morning?
Yep. I read something in a book that when you go off to do something, whether it's you want to create a website or lose the weight or whatever, that you act like you're going to lose everything. So say, you pretend like you're betting your friend $1 million. And so or the million's rather lofty, but like $100. And if you don't come up with what you're doing, then you really have to give up that money. And I wish that all people would act that way in life, because then there would be a little bit of a consequence, I guess, for lack of better words, at the end. If you had to lose everything or do this one thing, what would you choose?
Yeah.
Well, the normal answer would be like, I will go ahead and do that so I don't lose anything. But nobody acts in that mindset.
You're right. It's a good word.
Question 2.
Yeah, go.
Are you ready? So you don't know this one.
I don't. You're mixing them in?
Uh-huh.
Oh, dude.
Okay. So we offer 2 coaching platforms, right? Building and Becoming, and then they can branch off into DeepWater.
Yes.
These 2 coaching platforms have different price points, right?
Yes.
And why are they priced that way?
Oh, okay. It's interesting. So the price points are different for a couple of reasons. DeepWater is way more immersive. It takes technology that was expensive for us to build out that we provide to the client for that 90 days at no charge.
Correct.
Also, when a client signs up for DeepWater, they get free admission for 3 months into Building and Becoming.
Yep.
And they also get hours and hours of personalized accountability, fellowship, discipleship, and workouts and check-ins and calls. And every single day, if you're a client in DeepWater, you hear from me.
Exactly. Now, this is kind of a follow-up submitted. Do you offer payment plans or some sort of other way to make payments over time when joining DeepWater? Does it need to be paid in full?
So it doesn't need to be paid in full. I will say this, most clients pay it in full.
Correct.
And what I like about clients who pay it in full is they're committed.
There's no parachute.
Yeah, the level of commitment to me goes up. So I believe that where there is no commitment, where there's no investment, there's no commitment. Yep. Where there's no commitment, there's no growth.
Yep.
So if somebody, and I'll work with people because it's not just about the money. We need to continue to bring in revenue to continue to help people. But I'll work with people on the payment plans for this stuff. But if they go month to month and they just half-ass it for 2 weeks, they're like, you know what, this isn't for me. I only spent, X amount of dollars for a month. I'm out. The person, that goes all in and pays it up front, they're going to push to the end.
Well, they're going to think about all that time.
Right.
Is this really worth it when I just spent all that money?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Number 2,
Go.
or number 3, I guess. This one. I'm trying to build a fitness platform. What are some of the setbacks you faced?
Oh,
that's uncomfy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, because this is not like history. This is kind of like, our lives.
Yeah. You want to talk about all the times I failed?
Yeah. So first off, they're numerous, right? Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of failures on our way to here. And we've built something that is very scalable, very impactful, and is going to be freaking huge. Right. And I feel great about that. But the lessons learned are where the real value is. So I like this question. The market is so flooded, right? We tend to we need to get our niche out there. And that is that we focus on faith and fitness. So the setbacks we faced, man, they're numerous. Let me tell you one that a lot of people face: not having enough capital.
Yep. Where do I come up with money?
It takes money to build this stuff out.
Yep.
And I know that because I've built other businesses, and I know running out of money, it's pretty freaking bad.
Yeah.
So what we had to decide was Allie and I had to sit down and look at our net worth, the portfolio that we have, our assets, and we had to say, okay, we have these things invested here. Do we want to pull from these investments that have overall been pretty solid from a return perspective? And do we want to put it over here into this infrastructure to build this out?
That might not work.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? We go all in.
Yeah, you have to. You can't have one foot on the surface and one foot in the water. You need to figure out what you're doing. I love that, Jim.
That's right. So I got another one too. This I struggled with at the beginning, and I really don't struggle with it as much now, is you have to be able to ignore hate and negativity.
Yeah.
If you want to eliminate haters, I have the perfect solution. You ready for it?
Tell me.
Stop winning.
Yep. You have to have horse blinders on almost.
Stop trying, stop winning.
Yeah, and just be quiet like the rest.
Yep. That's it. And then you got to press on when you feel like you're stuck. Because a lot of times it feels like we're just spinning our wheels, but you just know if you just keep rocking that truck back and forth, you're going to come out of that mud.
Eventually.
You know that analogy?
Yeah.
You're like, and then you rock, and then all of a sudden, there you go.
Got enough momentum.
You just keep rocking. But I would say for anybody that wants to develop a platform like we've developed, yeah, let's have more competition, because I'm all about it, right? If you're doing it the right way, let's go. Provide value for people. Do not quit. Do not give up.
Right. I love that. All right. Another one that you don't know.
Go.
Okay. What inspired you to create Building and Becoming?
Good one. Well, I like bumping folks on the podcast and in real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's where it was. I am involved in men's ministry. So I'm around men from church and small groups and things like that. And what I found was I go to these events and I look around and I see men who are there because they're chasing after Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. These are family guys, husbands, fathers, business leaders, from all walks of life.
Right.
The overwhelming majority of them are just freaking obese. Just slugs. I'm looking around the room thinking, this is the men? These are the men that are representing the kingdom of God. These are the men who are going to stand up to the ridicule that's coming our way as Christians, and past ridicule, persecution. Mm-hmm. These are the men who I'm relying on to stand by my side when I'm ready to fight. I can't have this.
That's really great.
I can't have it. So somebody should do something.
You were that.
Can't stand that mindset. Boom. I'm doing something.
You're that.
I'll do it. Send me.
Yep.
One of my favorite 2 words from the scripture, send me. I'll go. So we built Building and Becoming so I could say to people, hey, you know what? Let's help you grow in your faith, because that's huge. But we also need to help you become strong, fit, and capable in all areas of life, because our bodies are temples to the Holy Spirit. And men, you're not out there living that out.
Well, yeah. And the attacks are always coming, and you're just more susceptible to the attacks when you aren't on the path.
And I also believe that the day will come when we as Christian men are going to be called to help those in our lives carry their water up the mountain, so to speak. If we can't carry our own bucket,
how the heck are you going to carry someone else's?
Right.
Yep.
So the leadership void that I see in homes and the physicality that's lacking in men of God, I could not tolerate any further. And I'm going to have my legacy be doing my best to change it.
I love it.
Cool.
Okay. You seem like you never mess up.
Woo!
Can you discuss some of the times you have fallen off track with your fitness?
Oh, man. That's, again, I'm like everyone else, right?
Right.
And I appreciate that. It seems like I never mess up. Now, I'm pretty transparent. My first book, copy of it up there, is called Ask God to Kill Me. A lot of messing up in there. But some good life lessons too, right? So the question here specifically is times I've fallen off track with fitness. So I used to compromise with myself. And I used to, a lot of people can probably relate to this. I used to reward myself for putting in work. So I
Oh,
would,
I need this beer or that donut.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
So even, and it got way past with like, I'll reward myself with this beer that I wasn't training or doing anything when I was that guy. But after I became free of alcohol and drugs and I wanted to start getting fit, um, what I would do is I would run and run and run, right? Because I was a fat kid. I was afraid of being fat and I wanted to lose weight because I was done drinking and I'm not using drugs anymore. So I'd run and run and run. Then what I would find is because I ran to punish myself in a weird way. And instead of training, like training now, it's hard and I push myself like I never even thought I could in strength training, but it's not a punishing of myself. So then I get to a reward later. It's part of building myself up and making myself stronger. And I used to view food as it's my reward. So you go for a 3-mile run, then you get to come home and you get to have, I mean, whatever kind of decadent, you can go to Village Inn and get the 4 stack of pancakes with the whipped cream, and because that's the reward.
Well, you just did all this work.
That's it. So you deserve it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I had the deserve mindset. What would happen then is the weight goes up, the weight goes down. It's a roller coaster. So I had to get off of that. The biggest turning point, there were 2 areas of my fitness that I can reflect back upon and see that they were the real game changers. One of them was when I stopped viewing food as treats and started viewing food as fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Food for me fuels my workouts, fuels my active lifestyle, and helps me be the man and the leader that I need to be for those that are in my life.
I'm going to find something on my phone and read it to you.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to continue real quick. Number 2 was when I stopped beating my body up with constant steady state cardio and decided that I'm going to focus on lifting. And then I started lifting exclusively, but doing it in such a way that I wasn't really pushing myself. And then in this last, I call it 7 to 10 months, I've pushed myself in my workouts to failure on every set. And I'm really focused on form and I'm getting stronger and progressively overloading. And I'm noticing it in my physique and my overall body composition. So those 2 things. Food, though, everyone, it's not a treat. Food should be pleasurable, yes, but the pleasure should also come from what it does for your body. And if what you're putting in your mouth isn't helping you get closer to your ideal self, then you don't need to put it in your mouth. Stop with this deserving attitude. You got what you're looking for?
Yes. So let me find it. It says, your kitchen is where everything begins. But for most, the kitchen has become something else entirely. A place of rushing or reheating, of convenience and overcare, a place where meals are assembled, not crafted. Why is food something to be counted, replaced, restricted, instead of something to be honored, favored, and trusted? I like that. Yeah. And you and I were talking, and it always hasn't been that way. Before, ingredients were clean and pure and not pumped full of hormones and antibiotics. And now the go-to, you go to the grocery store and you see the Stouffer's family lasagna pumped up with all that stuff. And it's just to replace the time that it takes for you to actually prepare that meal and have love and care for it and to know what it's going to do to your body. It's gone out the window. Everybody's in a big freaking rush to get over eating instead of sitting down and being mindful of what you just put in your body and how those things are going to impact you.
One of the favorite parts of the life that you and I are blessed to lead is the fact that meals are prepared in this home.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Arlie, 9 years old,
mm-hmm.
had a wonderful breakfast this morning that you knew the macros on.
Yeah.
You knew the calories and the protein and the other macros. You knew what you were feeding Arlie to send her off for a day at school.
Yeah. We don't, I can't say never. Right now, we only have a box of Fruity Pebbles because I bought them probably a year ago to make some crazy cookie.
Good news. They're still not bad.
They're not bad. But in the morning, I take time to bake all of her stuff fresh or, maybe she just has a piece of sourdough or whatever. So it's not like I'm cooking an actual meal every time. Sometimes it's a reheated something that I've made before. Um, but it's nice to know that she's going to school not high off freaking sugar. You know, the Lucky Charms gets you or pumped up full of sugar with those marshmallow or those muffins. And then teachers and parents are confused why their kids are acting out. Well, they're coming down from a crash.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is real substance.
That's right. We want to feed our family real food. And that's one of the things I want to encourage the audience in. Eat food. People overcomplicate this stuff. One of the things, I had a discussion today, I was getting my hair cut with my man, Brian. And one of the things that we talked about was, because he's real curious about, what we do and stuff. And I said, a lot of people, they ask a lot of questions and they're overcomplicating. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, I would just tell people if they have, just an elevator pitch, they just need something real quick. I'd say, eat food, move your body, drink water, don't drink alcohol. So here's food: meat, fruit, vegetables, eggs, honey, nuts. That's food. Yogurt.
Yep.
Right. These are foods. Just eat food. Things
that you can make at home that are super easy. You know what I mean? You can't make the Kool-Aid packet with the red dot. That can't happen.
Yeah. That's a good word. One of the things that I see in folks, and I can relate to this, and I'm guessing a lot of the audience can too, is we're looking for, and I love this because Brian said this today too. He says, for me, it's just, everything in moderation. And I just I'm going to bite my tongue here. The moderation thing, it offends me. Here's why. You don't need to eat a whole sleeve of Girl Scout cookies. Just have 3 or 4. Okay. You know what's better than that? 0, because they're freaking garbage.
Well,
and let me interrupt you because I'm going to finish my thought. If you have the discipline to just eat 3 or 4, you have the discipline to eat 0. The problem is the people that say, I'm only going to eat 3 or 4, do that one time. And your body's craving that the next day and they eat 30.
Yep.
Cut them out.
They pump it full of sugars, which is addicting. And that's why the grocery store is set up in the way they do. So everything's at the kids level with the fruity, the sugary stuff, because you get addicted to it. And we talked about that with the FDA. The FDA regulations on cereal boxes or whatever, I mean, that's just trash. You can tell when food has gone bad. It molds. But they want to convince people that all of the stuff goes bad within a week. So then they throw out the other stuff and go out and buy new. So that keeps the consumer hooked.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Everyone, we're being manipulated. And in our family, we've decided we're going to not fall for their game anymore. And the way that we get off that roller coaster, out of that manipulation cycle, is we buy real food and we prepare our food at home.
Yep.
So we're not interested in messing with big food and big pharma and all this garbage. We're going to take ourselves out of there. We're going to check out. And if we want freaking sourdough bread, you're going to make it in the kitchen and we're going to eat healthy food. We wanted ice cream last night. And what did you make yesterday morning?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Guess how much cream it had? None.
Yep.
Healthy ingredients. There's alternatives. Go.
Ready? Okay. So a question that you have that you don't know of.
Go.
Do you offer one-on-one coaching or is it all just group-based coaching?
Good question. I would say the best way to answer that is in Building and Becoming. There's very little actual just one-on-one coaching because it is a community. DeepWater provides more one-on-one than most people are going to be comfortable with.
Yep. You're live and in their face.
That's right. It's intensive.
Yep.
And I'm with them all day. And every day I'm looking at everything they ate and drank.
Yeah. Well, and the other cool thing too, I don't think that you mentioned is you're also willing to meet them where they're at. You're going to pour and pour and pour into them. But if they're not going to pick up the tools, there's only so much that you can do. So it doesn't matter how involved you are. The client needs to do a little bit of the work.
One of my coaching techniques is, and I wish I had this perfected when I was in the car business, I'd have been a more effective leader, but I'm not telling people what they need to do anymore.
Yeah, you got to get rid of those definitives. Nobody has
you need to do blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. That's just lying to them. What I say is I would encourage you to eat less dumplings for lunch and let's replace that with some chicken breast.
Yeah. For sure.
That would be a suggestion. If you don't want to do that and dumplings are your thing and you can't emotionally get by without dumplings, we're going to work around the dumplings for the time being and we're going to try to optimize in other areas.
Right.
But it's your life, it's your program. I'm going to tell you exactly what it takes to be your absolute best. And if you want to peel back from that from a discipline perspective, those are your decisions.
Right. Okay. How do your goals today differ from your goals when you started?
Yeah, I touched on this a little bit earlier. I used to starve myself. I used to want to be skinny. All that ended up doing was having me be skinny fat. Here's what I do now. I train to be strong, to build muscle. And most importantly, my fueling and my training is for one purpose, to inspire and help others realize that lifting weights is the way to true fitness, health, and quality of life. That's it. I want to live a life worthy of imitation. I want people to look at me and say, you look different than most 53-year-old guys.
Wow.
You carry yourself differently. I like your aura and your attitude. What is it about you? And I'm going to tell them two things. Do you know what those two things are?
God.
Love Jesus Christ.
And fitness.
I freaking eat clean and pound heavy weight.
Yep. Love that. Okay. What kind of results have you seen from your coaching?
Oh, so this has been the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Now, I've had things that have made me more money, and I've developed leaders in the past in my other career and stuff. But the results that I've seen, it goes beyond what I would have expected, because I've got people telling me that their marriages are better. And I'm not a marriage counselor.
Right.
Not really qualified for that. But I got people telling me, man, what I'm doing in the gym and the way that you're pushing me and the vision that you're casting has built my confidence. I've lost all this weight. I'm getting stronger. I've got this promotion at work. Everything about these men and women is changing. And I'm like, this is from coaching? Why didn't I have a coach back in the day? I didn't know anything about this. You know what? I got a coach now.
Yep.
So do you.
Yep. Okay. Have you had any adversity in your personal life that pushed you toward being healthier?
Oh, this is the longest answer of the show. I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I've had adversity in my personal life. I wrote about it and I asked God to kill me. Obviously, there's adversity there because of the title. So what was I, Al? Well, I was fat. I was addicted, strung out. I smoked, you name it.
Yeah.
So how has that pushed me toward becoming healthier? Well, I wanted to be the opposite of everything that I was. So when you're such a mess, you just have to be the opposite of those things. And how do you become the opposite? Do the opposite. So if I would have eaten this, I now eat this. If I would have drank this, I now drink this. So I just had to do the opposite. And I had a vision of who I wanted to be 10 years down the road. My more recent personal things have led me to lean more into God, which has been amazing. And also to go absolute next level in my commitment. And not just my commitment to, I want to look better in a t-shirt, my commitment to being the man God made me to be.
Right.
That's what this is about for me. So showing that path to others is, and not to throw hyperbole out there, showing this path to others is my purpose. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I would not be here, have the capability or the understanding, the empathy, be able to show the grace and the mercy to others that's been shown to me if I hadn't been through all that stuff.
I concur.
So my struggles will ultimately be someone's victory.
Yep. I love that. Okay. What does a typical coaching session look like?
Wow. So I would say there's different kinds of coaching sessions, but I'll walk you through one that I did yesterday. So I did an in-person Saturday. I did an in-person training session Saturday. And that was, I sat down with the client and we talked about, because he was getting ready to start his DeepWater.
Yep.
He was a couple days out. So we were in that design phase. I said, I'm going to ask you some questions. You know, I knew his weight and all those kinds of things. What are your 90-day goals from a faith and fitness perspective? What kind of equipment do you have access to? Because I'm going to design your specific workouts around your equipment. If you have a set of dumbbells and no bench or anything at home, I'm going to design you an entire workout, many workouts, an entire regimen around having a set of dumbbells.
Right.
If you have a full service gym, then that gives us some more flexibility. So we designed his entire workout.
Love that.
We talked about meals. This is how I'd like the meals to go. This is how I'd like your macros to go. Let's shoot for these calories. Let's shoot for this in protein. Here's and a big part of the first training session was let's talk about how to utilize the tech.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Comfortable with it.
Yeah, let's walk each other through that. What questions do you have for me? What fears and anxieties might you be feeling right now as we're talking about these things? Let's throw those out there. And each training session is different. And as we progress through your 90 days, they become more in depth in the details, because at that point, you know how to train, you understand the movements, you know roughly what you should be eating and how to log things, and you're down with the technology. Now we're going to hone it in. Let's exchange this for this from a nutrition perspective. Let's up the weight here and decrease this number of sets, and we're going to really hone things in.
Okay. Currently, what are you struggling with?
There's a theme in a lot of these, like, what are your failures? What have you messed up? What are you struggling with? Man, that's okay. So that's the stuff people want to know. What am I struggling with? Well, where do I begin? You ready? Self-doubt.
Yep.
Imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Impatience. Big one for me.
Right.
So I feel sometimes that I'm falling short of getting our message out there to suffering people, because I'm like, look, I see suffering people everywhere. Sick, overweight, depressed, angry people, sad people. I must not be effectively communicating my heart and the heart of Christ and the opportunities and the infrastructure that's available to these people, because they don't have to live this way.
Yeah.
So I take that upon myself. I'm like, where am I falling short of getting this message out there?
Okay. How does your online community support people in their transformations?
Oh, that's easy. That's the funnest part to watch, because person X will jump on and maybe share a struggle of, man, I really fell off here and I did this and this didn't work for me. I'm not even near the keyboard. And all of a sudden there's responses, boom, 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 boom. And the community jumps in and is like, hey, try this one. I know what you're talking about, Joe. I struggled with that. I tried this. Keep going, man. Don't worry about it. Hey, sister, you're going to come out of this funk. It's going to be okay. Think about a victory. And I'm like, wow, dude, this morning got a family member health issue, reached out for prayer. There's people all right on the community. Hey, I got you, brother. I'm backing you up in prayer, and let us know how things are going. I'm like, man, this is the goosebump stuff.
Right.
This is what this is about.
This is why you're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, 1,000%. Tell us what your primary motivating factors are.
Okay, so there's the trigger word for me. What word do I hate in that sentence?
Motivation.
Hate it. I don't do it. I don't do motivation.
Nope.
What do I do, Al?
Discipline.
I do discipline, everyone. I do discipline. There's a difference. So I relentlessly execute, regardless of how I feel. Motivation's relying on feelings. I don't feel that. I don't feel like working out today. And since I'm not motivated, I won't do it.
You're not going to get it done.
I am about keeping promises to myself, and I want to win. So there's no way that I can say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then because I don't feel like it, I'm going to lie to myself. I'm going to let myself down.
Right.
I don't understand that mindset. So you motivation people, you're not going to get there. Discipline is what's going to get it done.
That's why everyone quits after January 1.
What's that say?
Discipline equals freedom.
Discipline equals freedom. That's the story,
Yep.
right? And I'll give you the scripture reference that I have there. It's Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful.
Right.
Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained up in it.
Yes.
The Bible says discipline is a real freaking big deal. You know how many times it mentions motivation?
0.
That many times.
Right. Okay. How does faith play a role in building and becoming in DeepWater? Is it for people of all faiths?
Well, boy, that's a good one. Is it for people of all faiths? If a Muslim person reached out to me and said, I love your mindset. You're a positive guy. I understand how you're training people and what your mindset is regarding setting up workouts and accountability and all those things. And I know I could benefit from that, but I have no interest in having you help me grow in my Muslim faith. First off, I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't be equipped to do that.
Right.
I would say that person would be welcome if they are on board and they're committed to making themselves better. And I would be honest about it. I'd say a big part of what I do is pour into people from a discipleship perspective. If you don't want that component of this, that's okay. That's your choice. And he'd also be welcome in building and becoming in the chats and everything else. And even on a fellowship Zoom, when we're talking about the Bible and things, as long as he's not on there to challenge everything and to say Jesus isn't real. And, I'm just not going to have that. And here's why. And I want to say the most controversial thing I'm going to say in this show, and probably in a long time on this podcast. There are a lot of gods, lowercase g.
Yeah.
There's one God.
Uppercase G.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Do you fast? If so, for how long and how often?
Do I fast? Yes. How long? 14 hours.
Yep, that's pretty standard.
How often? Every day. Here's how I operate. I start eating about 8 o'clock-ish, 8, 10, 8:30, depending on my training. And I'm done eating by 6 p.m. I'm done consuming water and everything, as long as I got my gallon in. I try to be done consuming by 6 p.m. So I like to consume food and water between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. So that's 10 hours. Then I like to go 6 p.m. till 8 a.m. the next day. That's 14 hours fasted.
Yep.
That's been a game changer for me from a gut health and digestion perspective, how lean I feel and strong when I wake up. I even strength train fasted.
Yes.
And people have different views on that.
Do not do that as a beginner. It's not recommended.
We'll talk about it in session.
Okay. So this kind of piggybacks off after the last question I just asked you. Do you have to be spiritual or religious to join your program?
So no, and it's that goes along with the other. There are agnostic people in building and becoming.
Yes.
And you know how many of our fellowship Zooms they've been on? None.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Not a requirement.
That's not a requirement. But they have access to the courses and the modules and the mindset work and the sales and entrepreneurship stuff. My faith doesn't line up with what they believe. That's okay. Yes, they're welcome. Because I think one of the things that we can tend to do as Christian people is we only want to be around people that line up exactly with our beliefs. No, not at all. You are welcome.
Right. I love that. I'm starting from 0. How do I get going when all this seems to be so daunting?
I wrote down an answer to this one because I thought it was important.
Let's hear it.
First thing, trade unproductive hours for productive hours and use them to pray and move. Here's what I mean by those terms. Unproductive hours are from 9 to 11 p.m. Productive hours are 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Right.
So I exchanged those. I gave up 9 to 11 p.m. because I'm in bed, but instead of getting up at 7 and rushing through my morning, I'm now up at 5. What do I use that for? To sit around and watch SportsCenter? No, I use them to pray and to move.
Yep.
That's number 1. Number 2, and kind of number 3, eat clean foods. We've touched on this.
Yep.
Eat food.
Right.
Mm-hmm. People think Fruity Pebbles is food. It's not.
No.
Eat clean foods, and most importantly, learn what a portion is.
Yeah, which is why tracking your macros are so important.
You need, if you could only have one skill, I use need again. I encourage people to have 2 scales in their life. But if they can only have 1 scale, it needs to be a scale that measures your food rather than one that measures your weight.
I agree. I love
Next
that.
one. I want to finish a couple thoughts on that one, though. The starting from zero person. Drink more water today than you did yesterday.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
how much water did you drink yesterday? Well, about this much. Drink more today.
Yep.
And then do the same thing the next day until you start building up to a gallon. Move your body, start with body weight and progress. And I can't stress this enough, and it's going to seem really self-serving and probably is, but it is the crucial component when you're starting from zero. Get a coach, get a community. No one does this the right way by themselves. Nobody, not even me.
Right.
And final thing, everyone, if you get nothing else from today, write this down and ingrain it on your head and heart. Start now. Do not wait until you feel like it or the time is right.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. I think we have just about answered these.
Are we done? You got them all?
Okay. So if someone were on the fence about joining, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say, first off, what's keeping them on the fence? That would be the first question I would ask, but I'll give you some of the common answers.
Okay.
Okay. So, I need to think about it. Okay. That's the canned answer that everybody has when they're presented with opportunity. And what I say to the people that want to think about it is this: that's no problem, Allie, that you want to think about it. But so I can do my job better. Do you even think the program I've laid out for you would help you accomplish your goals in the next 90 days?
Yeah. I think what I would say is that our community needs them as much as they need us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what got them to where they're at, where they're on a phone call or a Zoom with me talking about partnering with a coach or a community, that mentality of I'm going to wait is what brought them here.
Mm-hmm.
And what would the 2.0 version do when presented an opportunity to make an investment in their future? That person would probably leap.
Yep.
And I would also encourage folks that when you say, I'm going to think about it, what that means is you're getting afraid and you want to back away from the engagement that you're in. And then what happens is, in that I'm going to think about it time, the enemy starts working in your head.
Yeah.
This isn't the right time. You can't afford it. You're not even healthy enough to start working out. He's used to coaching people that are more fit than you. He's going to tell you that you're a loser. He's all of that. And that's
Right.
why we stay stagnant. What I would say is, and this is for the audience that's listening or watching now, if you're feeling that stirring in your gut, you're like, I need something. I'm ready to invest for the next 90 days. And this is going to be the catapult for the rest of my life. If I start right away, I'm going to be done right in mid-June with my 90 days. And that's going to be the best summer I've ever had. And I'm going to be able to play with my kids and grandkids. I'm going to look better in my swimsuit. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to be a man of respect at work. My physique is going to be the first thing people notice. And I want to be proud of that.
Right.
If that's you, if I'm speaking to you, then you need to reach out, get a Zoom call scheduled with me, and we're going to have a chat. And I can promise you this, you have my word. I'm not going to try to sell you anything, but I'm going to lay out opportunities that are in front of you. And I'm going to ask you some real poignant questions about yourself.
Right.
And I want you to be honest with me and honest with you. And after that hour call, if you don't want to join us, if you don't want to partner with us and engage in our community or a one-on-one coaching situation in DeepWater, I'm going to say no hard feelings. I hope you learned something from the call, and I hope that you're on a different path than you were before we spoke.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to throw out there is, and those of you who are listening, please engage with me on my social media. Go follow my Instagram and stuff. What I'm serious about is every day I spend hours creating, and you help me, you do most of it. We create and we post content that we believe will give you free value. Whether or not you ever spend $1 with us, if you'll follow our page and see the posts that we make, post, stories, reels, whatever. Mm-hmm. If you'll follow and watch these things, you're going to get daily, multiple times, free value that will change your life without ever speaking to either of us, join our community, or being coached by me. I am about giving free value out there to the public. That's going to create trust with us. And once people understand that we can help them, then if they want to partner with us, come on aboard.
I love that. Well, that's all I have.
That's it?
Yep. We're all done.
Well, shoot, those were fun, somewhat challenging. The introspection is fun for me. You are a freaking rock star, and I'm not going to get off of this until I bring this up. Now, we also wanted to delay the production of this show for a few reasons. We wanted it to be fresh. This is Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
This show comes out tomorrow morning.
Right.
We normally do these weeks ahead of time. We purposefully wanted episode 5 to be very fresh. And one of the reasons is I wanted to say this to everybody. Allie is on day 57.
Of 75 hard. Yes.
And she's lost 20 pounds.
Yep.
And she looks amazing. She's strong. She's lifting more weight than she ever would ever think that she could. She's an inspiration. So when I tell you that she and I, when you partner with us, we are living this out. Every day is us getting better, so we possess the tools to help you get better. That's right. What this is. We also are building and becoming.
Yep, the better versions of ourselves.
That's exactly right. That's all I have. I appreciate you so much, girl. You're awesome. You're a rock star. Folks, reach out to us, please. Instagram, YouTube, what other ways?
Facebook and Twitter.
Website?
And the website, yeah.
Website's jimmotes.com. There's a way to just go to jimmotes.com. You're going to get a pop-up. Put your email in there. I'll get you on the list. We're going to start doing a newsletter. We got very cool things coming out. Yep. I'd love for you to subscribe and do that. Yeah, that's what we got.
All righty.
Till next time. Later.